Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
Oh, it works. Hello, I'm Dan Hollifield. Welcome to Last Man Standing. With me tonight, we got Joe Bachman and Ann Donna, and we might even have somebody else later on. I don't know if Rich is going to join us tonight. It is his wedding anniversary, so if he doesn't, good luck.
Yep.
You mean if he doesn't get lucky, he'll be here?
Well, if he doesn't get lucky, he may be here. But yes, you got that right. But and happy anniversary. It was what he said. 18 years they've been married. Mm-hmm. So that's just absolutely wonderful. Lindsay and I, she told me this past week that this was our 17th Christmas together. So we have in July we will celebrate our 17th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah, Joe was talking about having been married longer than alive. Yeah, we celebrated our 35th last November, and I was 31 when we got married. Got married on my 31st birthday.
Yeah, if Dad was still living, he and Mom would be celebrating their 67th anniversary. I used to explain myself to people in school, going, I'm totally disadvantaged. I didn't come from a broken home. My parents had never been married to anybody else and never got divorced. So I can't I can't empathize with the situation you're going through. But
same here. My folks would have been married 77 years in March.
And
my wife and I have been together 21 and married for 8.
Also respectable. Eminently so. I think
in long engagements, huh?
Oh, we started dating in high school, so.
Yep. I believe my sister and brother-in-law have been together for over 40 years and married for just under 20.
I knew a gentleman
Unless I
who
misjudged my niece's age.
I knew a gentleman who, because his parents did not approve of his girlfriend because she had a daughter. I don't remember the circumstances, whether she had been married or not married or whatever, but his parents did not approve of her. So they were engaged until his parents died, like 30 some years.
That's determination right there.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's kind of sad that they waited that long because they'd only been married about 3 years when he got cancer of the brain and died.
Oh,
So it's like you kind of wasted some time there because your parents were idiots. Because she was the sweetest gal. She is the sweetest gal. She's still alive.
Well, no, they didn't waste it. They had the earlier years where they weren't married. They were still together, I assume.
mm,
When they could snatch times, because his parents were
Oh,
very controlling. Yeah.
um, sorry.
I
I
mean,
made
yeah,
I made the mistake of assuming
they were together. No.
that they were together the whole time, just waiting
Nope.
to
They got together when they
legalize the
could.
consummation.
I mean, you got to give props to her for hanging around when
oh
she
yeah.
only see him and couldn't see him during holidays because he had to be with his family. I mean, that's like I say, she's just the sweetest gal. And just to have the fact that she had a child against her, hold that against her, that was ridiculous.
That's silly. That's silly. I would have never gotten married to any of my wives if there had been any insistence that they were still. Well, I don't know how to say it in Latin, but um, still virginal when we got married. Um, I tell you, and I have raised about 50 kids in my time, and a lot of those were cousins rather than
Hmm.
stepchildren. But I do have 5 stepchildren through all 3 of my wives. Wouldn't trade it for the world. And I've been on diaper duty with my grandchildren. You know, so don't give me any flack about, oh, you don't know what it is if you marry into it when they're teenagers. Think, well, I've got grandchildren that are rapidly approaching 40 now.
Yeah, people think I don't know anything about children, but I almost raised my nieces and nephews, although we were very close in age. I'm only 8 years older than my oldest niece. And they get surprised when I say, "Oh, your daughter's going to do this or your son's going to do that," and then be right.
Hmm.
It's, sorry,
You
seen it before.
Yeah.
yeah, you get a little bit of experience. Um,
Your daughter's gonna do this. How do you know? Because you did the same
Hmm.
shit.
That too, yes.
you did that at this age. I
Hmm.
remember.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Ran through that with my goddaughter when she got into junior high, in high school. So I met her mom when we were in high school, and my friend's like, "I don't know why she's like that," and I'm like, "Mm-hmm. Want a mirror?"
Yeah.
Really. Um, not thinking deeply much. Um, yeah. It seems like I was raised to be a dad. I had a lot of practice before it was even time for me to think about the possibility of the real thing happening. So I've got a lot of real world experience. Um, Kimber has quieted down.
That's
Maybe
good.
Lindsay has gone to bed. Don't know. I dread crawling back under the bed and trying to rewire the dimmer switch on the headboard of the waterbed. I mean, technically, I know it's only 2 wires. I can do it. And the pole lamp, I saved that from a thrift store find that had Edison Mazda wiring in it that I had to replace. And what was the other? Oh, the telephone. All that is just have to put another phone wire between the jack and the wall and the phone on the headboard. That'd be the
Is-
easiest one right there.
Mm.
But in order to dog proof them, I'm going to have to do a little bit of special carpentry in order to get the wires out of reach forever. Which means if we ever move, I'm going to have a hell of a time taking the waterbed apart or the waterbed frame apart. It's no longer a waterbed. It's got a memory foam mattress now. I miss the waterbed. That was the most comfortable sleep I had
Oh,
had
yeah.
for 20, 30 years.
Mhm.
But I got reminded the hard way that you're not supposed to keep the mattresses for 30 years. You're supposed to replace them
Once in a
occasionally.
while.
Well, the memory foam works just fine when you're snuggled up to the right person. I don't mind it at all.
Mhm.
Yeah, just be careful. If you're ever on your stomach with that memory foam, yeah, that stuff can suffocate you. He's thinking, he's thinking, he's
This is
thinking.
not the green room. This is not the green room. This is not the green room. Well,
Yes.
prurient fantasies aside, there are better ways to go, and there are worse.
I don't know about that.
That's what they make pillows for, so you can make sure that your mouth is not covered by memory foam. Although
Yeah, but you got to think of that before you get your face down in the memory foam.
I'm glad you said that and not I, for several reasons.
That's okay. I keep having to tell myself this is not the green room because I know exactly what I'd pull up on OBS Studio right now to switch over to for a scene. So we'll just say Happy International Women's Day and leave it at that.
Okay.
Oh, heavens.
So I had my rant about my delivery not coming and being told its delivery date was not available. So fortunately, we now have a very nice cigar store here in Danville. Actually, it's a head shop. Do they call them head shops these days?
We do. I don't know what the straights call it, but
Yeah, it's a head shop. It's got some of the most beautiful hookahs you've ever seen, and hand blown glass pipes, and but they've got a really nice humidor. And when they say premium cigars, they mean it. Most of them are around $10 a stick. Although you can find cheaper, and you can find more expensive ones. And they were cute and called it the Huff and Puff.
Isn't
Now,
that adorable?
I've got to go in. I charged my cigars this last time, and I got a receipt so that I can remember to put in my budget what I charged. It does not say Huff and Puff on the receipt, and I wonder if the owner knows this. It says Huff and Buff, Buff.
Yeah, somebody messed up.
Shiny. Yep.
Or somebody had a weird, wild sense of humor. I haven't decided
Either
which.
that or it got censored in a weird way. Oh, there's a tobacco shop in Athens. I was very gratified to find out that they didn't name it anything really silly. Like I would go in there for pipe tobacco back when I smoked a pipe, and it's going huff and puff. Okay, well I'm glad this one downtown didn't call itself the poke and choke.
There's a town in Indiana
That's
called
different
Seymour.
imagery.
There's a town in Indiana called Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought it'd be a great idea to open a cigar shop / strip club and call it Seymour
Seymour
Butts. Cigar shop in the front, fun in the back.
Yeah. When we were in Cincinnati, and I don't have the name right to it, but we went to the cigar shop that was wonderful.
You had to set me off, Joe. You had to set me off.
I'm trying to distract you. It was huge. It had to be at least 2,000 square feet.
Oh wow.
I mean, it was huge, and the whole shop was a humidor.
Ooh,
You walked in and
amazing.
You saw the pipes and the steams coming down, and it was great. And after you went through all the cigars and got your cigars, you could go around the corner, and then they had another huge room filled with big screen TVs and video games and leather seats and stuff where you could sit and smoke your cigar. And I love the sign that they had on the door. It says, if you don't smoke cigars, don't come in.
Yep.
Yep.
There was a place used to be in the mall over in Maryville. I can't think of the name of the place offhand. It was a little cigar and pipe tobacco store. And I loved going in there with my dad when I was growing up because at the time he was smoking a pipe. And just the smell of the pipe tobacco was always so good.
Mm-hmm.
And then once my buddy and I were of age, we would go up there occasionally, just get a cigar, just to have one occasionally, or we'd buy one like if there was a funeral or wedding or something, we'd go up and grab a celebratory one. But I could just stand for hours inside of a humidor.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And
if
just
they
smell
ever
that.
made a pipe tobacco that tasted as good as they smell,
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
they would not have ever have become so reduced in style.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, Joe, I'm gonna go ahead and go there. Now, imagine, if you will, a combination liquor store and casino.
Mm-hmm.
Liquor up front, poker in the back.
Yep. And welcome, Rich.
Hello, Rich.
What an incredible line to pop into the show in.
Oh, and Aunt Donna got the other joke that was involved in that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, well,
did.
yes, been around the block a few times. Yes, I have.
And we went this last book show we had in Wabash, Indiana. Carl, of course, had looked up cigar shops, and this one had like 4 stars as best cigars ever. We go find it, and it's in a strip mall. Okay, we've had a few good cigar shops in strip malls before. Open the door, and the incense just washes over you.
Ooh.
This is a problem for me because I have fragrance allergies, but I'm like, okay, they've got a humidor. I'll go in there and get away from it, right? Their incense was so strong, it was in the humidor.
Oh.
Oh,
Yep, I would be worried that
Yeah.
it would be so strong that it was actually in the cigar.
the cigars.
Yeah, I was gonna say it had to be tainting those cigars if it was in that humidor.
Really?
I was desperate. I had a long drive and nothing to smoke. So I bought a couple of cheap sticks of brands that I knew, and we got out of there as soon as possible. And neither one of them had the incense in them. So I'm like, okay, but never going back to that place again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the same problem with certain brands of perfume.
A lot of perfumes, a lot of laundry detergents, and sadly, back when I was stocking groceries in a grocery store, STOCKING, not STALKING, my aisle was the laundry aisle.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I came home with migraines every day at work.
We had a young lady at work. I'm not sure if she bathed in perfume before she spray painted her blue jeans on, but there was more than one occasion when I was sitting inside an inner room with two doors closed between me and the hallway, and I knew when she walked into the building.
Ugh, yeah.
That perfume was like at 100 yards, you knew it was her.
I used to work in an
Through
injection
two
molding
closed
facility.
doors.
I used to work in an injection molding facility with plastic injection molding. So anyone who's ever worked in that kind of factory, there's so much dust. There is burning plastic. There's plastic coming up temperature. The dyes give off their own scents. It is a very odoriferous place.
Mm-hmm.
There was one woman we knew whenever she walked in to start her shift in the morning because we could smell her perfume from the front door. She applied it by the 55-gallon barrel.
Basically, just a rope ladder and dip and come out and get dressed.
And they would be like, okay, hey, Rich, you need to go in the office and give your report to her. I'm like, oh, fuck you guys. Nope. I'm just a processor. Someone higher up than me needs to do that shit because I'll be sick to my
wait
stomach.
till they invent email, thank you.
I will puke on her.
No, this wasn't unpleasant. It was just very, very strong.
Oh, yeah. And it wasn't a horrible scent. It's just, it was a potent scent. But because of my issues, which I have to get tested because there's a good chance I might be on the spectrum, and that might be one of the triggers that show I'm on the spectrum. I just had a very visceral reaction to cloying scents.
No, I'm deeply allergic. I love the fact that we have masks now because I can wear them like if I have to go to a visitation or someplace where there's a lot of people, especially older women. But if I'm exposed too long, I end up being sick for a couple of weeks and I get group B strep throat and I'm in the hospital for 2 weeks. I did that 13 times in 10 years when I was a kid. Before I was like, okay, start avoiding.
Yeah, it's my issues are so strong with it that if it's used on my clothing, my skin will break out.
Mm.
My mom didn't figure that out until I was 16.
Yeah.
And then Misty
that's not
bought the
good.
wrong detergent once. Once. Okay, this is a slightly odd thing, but one day, I'm getting dressed. I'm holding my shirt on. She's like, "Why are your nipples bleeding?" I'm like, "Because there's perfume and dyes in the detergent." I love you. So she felt bad for like 6 years. But it is what it is. She didn't do it on purpose. She just grabbed Tide.
Yeah.
She didn't grab the dye-free stuff. I'm like, all free and clear, Arm & Hammer free and clear. Those are the ones that my mom's used over the years that have been perfectly fine on me. So we always have to buy a small bottle of whatever we want to attempt. That is, dye-free and scent-free, just to make sure that it doesn't react with my skin.
I remember back when I was in my 20s, there was a lady that I was dating, and she had a very not a powerful perfume that she was fond of. But I had bought her a fragrance she was not used to wearing, and she enjoyed it. It was one of those essential oil kind of things back before essential oils were in vogue. And it smelled good. Let me tell you, it didn't make me break out or anything like that. But um, we had been together this particular evening for uh, most of the night. I think she left and went back to her place a little after midnight, and I got up about 6 o'clock the next morning and made myself a cup of coffee. Maxwell House smells real good to me, and went outside to sit on the porch and drink my coffee. I could still smell her perfume on the front porch after 6 hours. Only lasted just a little while. I think that was because 20 normal guy. I really could detect this particular pheromone from a long way away, and it didn't hang around. It wasn't cloying or anything like that. But walked outside and I go, it's just about like you were here. And she said, when I told her about that, she said, that's one of the most romantic things I've ever heard. I'm going, well, I don't really have a romantic bone in my body, but I'll take that.
Right.
Oh, our laundry room is down in the basement, down some very steep and narrow stairs.
That are now
And
broken
Easy,
because of
Rich.
the delivery.
Not the green room. Not the green room.
and Carl's like, I'm taking over doing the laundry because I don't want you falling down the stairs. And I'm like, okay. I love my husband. He's a bit of a skinflint, which doesn't bother me. I'm part Scottish. If I can squeeze a penny, I'll squeeze a penny. But finally made him believe you got to spend the money and get the perfume free. You just got to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's one that Lindsay has been getting for us lately, and sometimes I had to find it myself when I go shopping alone, like on my way home from work and stop at the store. And it's one of those things where it's um, very eco-friendly, and the
Hey, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa. We weren't going to say that one out loud. I was 20. I'm normal, okay?
Well,
But
that's why
no,
we
no.
women wear it.
And yes, there's a reason pheromones are used to control things.
Nick, I am pretty sure it is well past your bedtime right now, too, buddy.
Nicholas,
Really?
Nick, you're supposed to be
pot,
this tall to stay up this
kettle.
late.
Oh,
I love you, brother.
I was not going to go there.
Hey, I had to keep in the other remark that was green room. Let me have this one.
Yes, I'm sure the audience appreciated that. Although, if the green room were ever to become public,
Well, hell no. No. I mean,
believe me, most of the people that frequent the green room would wind up with careers in stand-up comedy, or in my case, sit-down comedy, because I ain't standing up. Oh.
I wanted to be a stand-up comic when I was. Hell, I still want to be a stand-up comic.
I was going to say, Carl still wants to be one.
I just have to learn how to be funny. But looks don't count for everything. I mean,
Carl even has his opening line that he says he's going to open every show with. Sorry if I'm a little late. I've lost my wife. It took me hours of driving around before I finally got her lost. And then he wants me to come in with twigs in my hair. Going, I found you.
Miss Williams had the baby. I don't know why. Let's move. He'll never find us. I'm not touching that line, Nick. I'm not even flashing it on the screen. No. This is not the green room. Don't give me straight lines. Wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, Teresa, my first fiancés had
they have to be bylines.
My first fiance had a cologne that made me mad. It every time he wore it the pheromones worked so that I got mad. And we would argue. And when he stopped wearing it, we stopped arguing. But it's just funny how smells can make you react.
Yeah, and it's not only perfumes. There are scents that I associate with happy times in my childhood, and a lot of them have to do with cooking.
Chocolate chip cookies, mom's best dish. That special dish that was made for your birthday or a family holiday, where on the days that everyone actually gets along instead of the ones where everyone always fights like asshats. But
yeah, well, on the Beverly Hillbillies, Granny used to have Ellie Mae put vanilla behind her ears. Very valid point, because that would make a man think of cookies, cakes, sweet things. And Nick, what makes you think that I haven't done that already?
Oh, yeah, but Nick, that one I can flash up. It's G-rated. Vanilla, coffee, wood smoke, leather. Yep. Especially when you factor in my Appalachian period in my childhood, when East Tennessee was where we lived instead of Northeast Georgia. JFG coffee made in a actual percolator, and then I had one great uncle that would pour it into a saucer to let it cool. while he let what he poured into a coffee cup cool off as well. And that would just it would be like an incense stick. The smell of the coffee would go everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fried chicken on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Uh, my mom's uh, pinto beans cooked in a pressure cooker. Um, well, damn near anything my mom cooked. Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
she was trained by people that learned how to cook in the Depression. If there was a way to make whatever you could find taste wonderful, she was taught how to cook it and still knows. Um, Lindsay has a few things that she does very, very special.
It's not the
There's
green room.
this is cooking. Thank you.
Okay.
Um, there's a sausage, tomato, onion, and diced or thickly sliced potato casserole that she makes. It she she says that was a um, World War II uh, bomb shelter recipe. She gets that stuff going. I swear I could smell it from the next county, and I want to leave work so bad and go home and eat some while it's still right then instead of tomorrow's lunch. Um,
Mm-hmm.
oh Lord, um, fresh baked biscuits from scratch, homemade chow chow going into the big crock before it's sealed and set aside to age for 2 or 3 months and go ahead and pickle. Um, a freshly plowed field. I grew up on a farm. I swear I know when hay has been mowed or a field has been plowed within about a 5 mile radius of wherever
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Petrichor, the smell, the ozone smell just before a thunderstorm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
A lot of my cigars. One of the thing about a cigar is smelling it before you light it. And a lot of my cigars, I can close my eyes and see the stables, the horses, the leather saddles and stuff.
Hmm.
And I almost don't have to light the cigar because that aroma of the tobacco is just taking me back to my childhood, to the farm, to my horses. And yes, Nicholas, I am proud to be a heathen. Do you know that the original meaning of the word heathen was simply country folk?
Cherrywood tobacco pipe smoke reminds me of
Oh, yeah.
my
Oh,
dad when I was a little kid.
The only freshly, not really plowed, but freshly harvested field smell that I did not care for was mint.
mm,
You don't like
And
mint
it
anyway,
wasn't
do
so
you?
much the mint, huh?
You don't
What's
like
that now?
mint anyway, do you?
No, I do. I
Oh,
love mint.
okay.
But the mint spoils.
Mm,
yes.
The
the silage
farmer had
smell.
the bright idea of let's put all the spoils up next to 421, which was the main highway between Wanata and La Crosse. So I
Main
Mm,
very
corridor for
quickly
a lot of
learned,
stuff.
Hmm.
huh?
It's main corridor for a lot of stuff around here.
Yeah.
yeah.
I very quickly learned to, when I hit a certain county road, take a deep breath and try and hold it for the next mile.
Deep breath and gun it.
Hmm.
And then again, on the other hand, there are stretches of this county that I can go through by accident. I go, somebody gonna get arrested. That stuff's
Oh hell, I smell that on 8094 every day on the construction site.
Well, you shouldn't
Someone
do it
goes
on the
rolling-
construction site. There are cameras.
And
The
you know,
past several
something
times
else?
driving in,
The things our cameras have seen during traffic backups.
Carla's got some cigars that smell like weed when he's smoking them.
Mhm.
Because I'm like, oh, he's got something good. Oh, he's just got a cigar.
the past several times of driving in, and I'm not talking about being stopped near a construction site either. Just on the other side of the state line. Okay, not just on the other side of the state line. Over by Stony, where you always get that huge couple mile backup,
Mhm.
is so rank with pot smell. I'm like, dear God, my windows are rolled up. I should not be smelling this coming from someone else's vehicle.
I shouldn't
then
be
you
able
look
to
over
smell
and
it when
there's
you're
a cop
blowing past me
driving
at
by.
70.
Reaching for an ashtray.
No, the cameras.
Yes. I went to school in the 70s at the University of Georgia. God.
The cameras that the state has along the interstate are truly top notch. There was a new one they were testing, and they were able to. This was over at our Gary Subdistrict building, which the toll road runs right by. They were able to zoom in on a license plate a mile down the road and read it clear as day. During traffic backups, especially if there's a really bad accident, they'll actually just disable the camera from the live feed to the public, but they can still see it in their what we call the war room. And they have seen people rolling joints, doing cocaine, having some other fun activities.
I thought that was going to come up. In a manner of
I was saving
speaking.
that for last as I was trying to think of the best green room way of saying that. I will
Go
leave
honeymoon
your
game. They were
imagination.
engaging in whoopee.
Yes.
I have seen that at a stoplight camera recording before. When all of a
that's
sudden
funny.
it was obvious there were two people in the car instead of just one. Oh,
Driving. Anyway,
good
Smack
evening,
that.
Nicholas.
how are all of you lovely people?
We're doing great.
I don't normally make these late night appearances anymore. I'm supposed to be in my regeneration cell hooked up to all the wires and tubes, but you can't go from negative freaking 12, 14, 20 something at 60 below wind chills to 50 freaking degrees in like 3 days and not have my entire system short circuit for a bit.
We went from -10 to 62 overnight.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. They're not quite that bad, but dear Lord in heaven.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the 2 warm days we've had, I'm glad I didn't take the time to shovel after all that because it's all gone already.
I'm
Yep.
just hoping. I'm just hoping this week wasn't spring because I've got a lot of stuff to do before it gets to be 120 degrees outside.
You know,
Oh,
no,
right. You guys,
we're gonna
you
get
guys get
slammed.
what? A week of fall, a week of spring, and 2 days of winter?
Winter's usually
Or is that just
about
Florida?
That's
winter's
Florida.
usually about a month unless February decides to pitch a hissy fit, and a week of spring, a week of fall, and the rest of it is, oh my God, it's summer.
See, here we just have 6 months of winter and about 9 months of construction. So
Only 9? You guys are starting to take breaks?
well, yeah, we do get breaks occasionally.
Well, okay, there are 9 months of construction and 11 months of the cones and signs being up. That way the small towns can ding you for speeding through a construction zone when there's nothing going on. I mean, what? No, never. That's the Indiana State Flower. Shoot, I drove through Snyder, Indiana, laughing my butt off. I had to pull over the first time I went through Snyder, Indiana. And my wife is going, "What is wrong?" And I went, "You don't know." And I pulled over so that the semi behind us, and it was an orange Schneider truck. And I went, "This is where the Schneider eggs come from." And I was just done. Just done.
It takes longer to say Schneider than it does to drive through it.
This is true. I will attest to that because I worked on a bridge on 41 in Schneider. And I will also say there is not a damn place to eat out there. You have to drive back to Lowell.
Yep. I grew up a stone's throw from Palmer and a stone's throw from Leroy. It takes longer to sneeze than to drive through the town.
Yep.
Each of them. Actually, you could put the towns side by side. It'll still take too long. Still take longer to sneeze than to drive through both of them end to end.
There's a town down here like that, but you have to slow down because until the state built a bypass around it, it was one of the most notorious speed traps.
Doing the speed limit of 35, you still get through both towns end to end before you sneeze.
This place was so bad, you had to slow down to the posted speed limit about 2 miles before the first sign for the speed limit change in order to keep from getting pulled over. There's another town out the other direction that had a radar trap out up until the mid-70s when the state went through and decided they were going to inspect this town's radar guns because they were writing entirely too many tickets. The state inspector with the city radar gun clocked an oak tree backing up at 75 miles an hour. Needless to say, they did not retain their radar gun privilege very much longer.
Did find out something interesting from one of our state troopers. This was several years ago when I was on 94 out by Chesterton area. We saw him out there. He was actually behind our barrels and checking people's speeds. And he had one of the laser guns. It looks like a little mini submachine gun, really. And we went over and we were talking with him, and he actually let us tag a few vehicles, see what the speeds were at and everything. But he goes, "You know why we don't normally pull people over in the rain, right?" Figures because you don't feel like getting wet. I don't know. He goes, "Radar is not accurate in the rain." He goes, "If you ever get pulled over for speeding in the rain, the first thing you ask that officer is, 'How did you get my speed?' If he says radar, shut up, take the ticket, go to court, the judge will drop it." He goes, "If he says laser, you're screwed because that's going to work no matter what."
Yep. Rain or shine.
He said the sound of the raindrops hitting the windshield will give a false reading.
Wow.
I have a wonderful way so that they don't have to do speeding tickets. Okay? Bear with me. It's genius.
Cruise control 5 miles over?
Oh, no. Well, no. After I got my deal with LaPorte County, I rarely ever speed, even to this day. But when I speed, it's with necessity and purpose. But sorry, my genetics are showing again. If you know my family, you know. I postulate, friends, and it is a theory, that for the communities that are having trouble with, because gas prices are actually speeding revenues because people are slowing down because it's just too dang expensive. What I say is you take a system like the deer hunting tags, right? But instead you get to purchase a-hole driver tags, okay? And what happens is you purchase it and the state issues you a special glow-in-the-dark, ultra-reflective paint, bright Pepto-Bismol pink paintball. And, you get an approved launcher. And you have a tag, So what you do is when you're driving down the road, and you can't be a cop for a minute, because that would be a wonderful thing, too. We've all been there. Could I just please pull the little dumb ball? Oh, he cut me off and, is driving while smoking. And, I've seen a dude eat a full multi-course dinner with chopsticks while driving in the mirror. But, you see the idiot go by. You don't have to be mad anymore. The guy who's been tailgating you and using the retina incinerator headlights, you just let him go. You roll down that window. Pop. You tag him. And now he's been tagged. And until he gets that removed, he gets stopped by every cop who sees him.
I think it's Japan that uses something similar to that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Japan has a tag system like that. That's what I think it's an IR paint, so the helicopters and stuff can see them real clear. There's some wonderfully terrifying Big Brother style issues like that are going on right now. Plus the
just do
facial.
what my boss did and use the bright orange, spray paint we have in the can and tag the 3 vehicles that drove behind our barrels.
Oops. What happened? I was spraying a line, and they drove right over. And
he acted like he gotten scared, acted like he was jumping back, held the paint stick straight up, and pulled the trigger right down the side of the vehicle.
Accidents happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm going to tell you. Now, see, I also think we need to fix this thing, okay? I used to live in LaPorte County. Out in the middle
I still do.
BFE, where the wild things are. Up in the hills, the people don't want to acknowledge are there. Down in the valleys and said hills, the people don't want to acknowledge are there. Around the things, people don't want to acknowledge is there. There's no business for anybody to be out there. So what does the wise city of LaPorte do? Well, we'll have a nice little triathlon. We'll shut down the whole city and half the county. You can't leave your home or get back into it if it disrupts the race. Yeah. Yeah, see, my problem is I'm an old DM and I have copies of a wonderful volume called Grimtooths. And Grimtooths is a book of wonderful ideas, because for every idea you read in Grimtooth, it expands your mind of horrific traps and things. And every time I hear about this, I want to go full Home Alone on a few. Because I tell you what, if they want to win that trophy, I say we make it look interesting. They shut down my favorite little beach. They shut down my favorite little pond lake thing.
Grimtooth is if Kevin McAllister became a DM. Holy shit, I never thought about that before.
Yeah. And I want to spice that event. I mean, I want to just take that. The road would be so much more interesting with some bear traps, or it doesn't have to be dangerous. Just like skunk smell mines,
Now, okay, granted, I've only been here in town since August, but I haven't seen them do that for a foot race, but I do see them do it way too often for those freaking cruise nights where it's like you need to cut this short at some point in time because people will have to cross to at some point in time.
It's the bicycles. They do the big bicycle races out in the county because you're out in the county, and I see some little scrawny dude in a bicycle outfit, on a bike that costs more than my car, all streamlined with his helmet going down, and I just want to squirt some deer eustress on him so that some buck can motivate him. It's for his own good. Fear will make you pedal faster, my friend. It is the health and welfare method. This is how you look at it.
Keep in mind, Perry and my wife used to do that little bike thing down through LaPorte and all that.
If they're out by Hamlet or Kingsford Heights, be a little careful. That might be my wife's uncle. I like him.
We're talking out by Panola. What business do they have out by Panola? Out by, what is the name of that park?
Why the Christ would they be out by Panola?
Well, because they have to have far enough. They got to go down 700 so that they can curl around and go all the way to make their little swim part across Stone
There's actually
Lake.
like 4 parts to that race. There's I think there's like a 25, a 50, a 75, and a century.
And see, at one point you just add here's the race with the International Indiana Airsoft Competition, and we're just going to have it go right across.
The thing is, you could do all that in the fairgrounds.
Yes, you could.
What fun would that be?
It wouldn't. I had a race marshal flag me down and tell me, well, the race is going to start in a bit. I'm going to see my parents. Well, let me explain something to you. I'm going to see my combat veteran Vietnam veteran father. He is elderly. If he has any health issues, we're going to leave. And I'm going to rack up more points than David Carradine in Death Race 2000.
I want to get a Tusken Raider costume.
That's beautiful, and I think that's just
rig up one of their rifles and get the 68 caliber capsaicin balls.
Oh yeah, I'm here for it. You are speaking my language.
Y'all have just described the very reason why I cannot have Michael Keaton Batmobile machine guns in my Kia.
Carl won't even allow me to have a paintball gun in the car because of that.
Let me, I want to talk about a movie I saw a while back that bombed in theaters. It had 2 things that I liked. It had Christina Ricci, which Christina Ricci will always get my opinion. She's not my usual type, but I make special exceptions. And it had insane, like, over-the-top CGI silliness. I'm talking about the Speed Racer movie.
Oh, I love that.
Me just how fun having Mach 5 in I-94 traffic would be. It's almost as fun. I was on Nerd Bacon this morning. Well, yes, it's still this morning. I have 1 more minute. And I got talking, and I got out because I told the story. I've been driving around with my wife for years. I did a lot to teach her how to drive. She likes to forget this because I could drive white-knuckled and panicking over 25 miles an hour. No, you couldn't. Now she can drive. But I'd be driving, and every so often in traffic, my finger would start going up. And she'd ask, and it took her years, what's with that? I said, I'm just checking to see that I'm not Magneto. Because, have you ever been there where, no, I just want to go, whee, and watch the car go, whee, just that. I think, and I love people. I'm a people person. I love individuals. I love people. But they become morons when they get in cars.
Mm-hmm.
The statute of limitation should be up on this.
Now, you just described exactly why I can't have the speed racer buzz saws
Yes, that's where
on Highway 285 in Atlanta, because it would cost me a fortune to have those things resharpened every week.
The cool thing about having a car so old that there's holes rusted into the floorboard is it's really easy to run an igniter kit under the car.
Suddenly, you have the Adam West Batmobile.
and those work for more than just the Estes model rockets.
Oh, yes.
You can hook them up to skyrockets. You can hook them up to Roman candles.
Skyrockets in flight. Afternoon delight.
Traffic cone delight.
Yeah. Not to mention the actual lighting stuff and holding them out the window and letting go and stuff like that. Yeah, we weaponized our cars.
It's better than what allegedly one of my brothers did. They were driving around in a buddy's rig. It was a big SUV with a sunroof. And it was the 4th of July. And they
I believe
decided
I know what's coming.
that the best way to celebrate the 4th of July was to light off their big 3-inch mortar shells.
From inside the car.
So they're driving around. Light another one.
I used to have a roommate that got pulled over for that sort of thing. He went back when fireworks were illegal in Georgia. He went to North Carolina and got like $300 worth of heavy duty fireworks and was setting them off and throwing them out the window as he was driving back. He came back with nothing except sparklers, but he did get pulled over.
So we used to have around Crown Point and Cedar Lake, he might still be in business. Willie, I think it was like Wild Willie's or something like that, and he actually had lost an eye at some point in time, so he actually wore an eye patch. So he went off a lot of old one-eyed Willie from the Goonies type stuff. Mm-hmm. He would always have a buy one get 3 free special type thing. But me and my friends were in there spending what little money we had on a shit ton of fireworks every few days. So, because he and his wife and his kids recognized us, it was more buy one, get 10 free. Mm-hmm. Because, you'd spend a lot of money there, and then, yeah, granted, it wasn't a lot in their sense, but they knew it was a lot in our sense. So they're like, we're going to keep drawing these suckers in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we had just stupid amounts, and my friend who just recently passed away, his little brother was with us, and we had just gone to Spencer's, and my best friend had picked up a fake arm that had a bit of fabric at the end and then like a dowel rod, so you could have it hanging out your window or hanging out your trunk or hanging out your car door. Mm-hmm. That was hanging out either my trunk or my best friend's trunk. I don't remember whose car we took that day. But we had a lot of fireworks with us and stuff like that. And we're lighting Roman candles out. We're throwing packs of firecrackers out the windows and stuff like that. Just being general idiots. So the cops pull us over because apparently some of the stuff we were doing made some people think there were gunshots going off. And then they looked out and they saw an arm dangling out of the trunk. So my friend's little brother, we were talking the other night, and he reminded me of this, and I had to laugh my ass off. And I'm like, oh God, I remember that well now. But yeah, so we finally got pulled over, and
They caught the tater salad.
Jeff and I were always the face of the group. Chris had problems with authority, so we didn't really want him talking to the police. Tim, we didn't want to talk to the police because he was sitting there going, "Oh shit! Oh 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 shit!" So Jeff and I managed to schmooze the officers down, and all they really did is confiscate our fireworks. Of course, Chris and Tim and Tim's friend were pissed off. And I'm like, we still have a lot more back at the house. We're fine, guys. You know, we're not going to jail. We're not getting arrested. But yes, all because of a fake arm hanging out of the back of a trunk. Someone actually bothered to call because they thought we had kidnapped and killed somebody.
See, that just makes Michigan City sounds. You know,
Sorry.
That just did you? You know, I mean, well, it's a fake arm. You sure now? Oh wait.
Oh yeah, we showed the cops. The cops were laughing their ass off, and they're like, because we were called, we got to show some kind of contact, so we got to confiscate the stuff.
They just asked that they confiscate the arm as well.
No, they didn't confiscate the arm, and they didn't take anything that was in the trunk. They just took what they could see that was in the back seat, which was still about $50 for the fireworks, but still.
Now, I once inherited, through virtue of helping somebody move, a large number of, well, I didn't know it at the time, but when I started actually firing them off, I thought, oh God, these are military grade fireworks. But they were the kind of thing that people would actually use at a fireworks show. I did not know that. Now, I happen to have a 2 foot tall, 6-inch diameter, 1.5 inch thick cardboard tube. Think something like you would get from a roll of Christmas wrapping paper, but huge and very heavily constructed. And I would be lighting these things and dropping them in there. And after the first one, I go, holy shit, that was loud. And I go, have we got any more? I'm standing. It's like New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I had just decided to get rid of these things because I didn't want to leave them in the barn because they were freaking dangerous. And I was setting off as many of them as I could. Started off with, Roman candles, which work really well when they're directed by the tube. Then these rockets, these mortars, basically.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was the best launch system anybody could ever devise. And I'm going through all this stuff, and finally my wife comes up and says, I know you're having fun, but you got to stop. You're scaring the dogs to death. And I actually had the movie camera on a tripod at the beginning of the driveway, and I was standing up on the end of the driveway. And yes, Rich, this is where the cover photograph for Suck second helping came from. This is that night. So you see fireworks going off, and I'm standing there in insulated coveralls going, this is fun. It
So we
reminded me of something that some friends of mine from high school had told me, and they were several years older than I was, but they would go out with 8-foot lengths of aluminum conduit and put bottle rockets in them and shoot them at each other as if they were dueling with bazookas. An 8-foot length of 3/4 inch conduit will give a bottle rocket a respectable amount of accuracy in a horizontal flight, especially when it's the kind that goes pop when it gets to the end of its thrust range. Not to talk dirty there, but they had a marvelous time, and this was still while fireworks were illegal in Georgia, so they had to run off to the edge of the pasture they were playing in the middle of the night and hide from the police cars that were looking for them.
When has anyone ever hid from the police? My God.
Oh my gods.
So I'm going to start this story. We're just going to start this off by saying yes, there was alcohol involved.
I love it already.
Not
so I was
the
at a
green
friend's
room.
house. I was at a friend's house out in Union Mills, and it's around 4th of July. We're lighting off a bunch of mortars and stuff, and someone loaded a mortar in the wrong way. So instead of shooting out of the tube, it stayed in the tube, and, well, there was no tube left when it exploded. The only tube. So we had the bright idea of, well, we still have all these mortars. What are we going to do? We're all too drunk to drive back to Wanata to get another box just to get a mortar tube. So we were lighting them and then throwing them as far as we could like baseballs out into the field.
Oh, Lord.
And you were trying to light it, time it, and arch it enough so that it would take off before it landed.
Let me guess.
We didn't catch the field on fire.
Though, but the inevitable happened. Someone made it tumble.
We did have a couple come back at us.
Exactly.
Luckily, we were at least smart enough we had a line of, here's where you throw from. The rest of us are going to be way the hell back here.
Like that's going to work. Them things have some velocity.
So, my nephew George, and I'm going to say that and let this sink in because Richie knows and Joe, I think, knows what it means when I start a story with my nephew George.
George has always blown me up many a time.
Oh, this is one, I'm proud of this one. Because George brought his ex-girlfriend's daughter, because they still hang out. Because they almost, the familial thing. And her rather interesting boyfriend, we'll say that, to my house for the 4th of July. Not much negotiation or discussion was about this. George shows up. Now, when George shows up, the back of his truck is full of things that go boom. And I mean that literally. Pyro Christmas, he saves all year, loses his mind, boom. Well, things went boom a whole lot. Got to the end of the midget and the boyfriend. She's not a midget, actually, to be clear. He just calls her the midget, so I can't remember her name to save my soul. But
that's what George refers to most children as.
Right. We had this whole pile of fireworks debris, and I'd swept it up trying to clean it up, and it's this mound. And we're trying to figure out what we're going to do about this, And then the mound catches fire spontaneously.
Oh dear.
And we're sitting there with this mound in the front yard. It's the part where the road is real smooth now.
Now.
And it's just this bonfire with oddly colored sparks every once in a while. Because, you blow off enough stuff, there are always
remnants.
Your duds that don't,
So I'm laying out on my hill. I'm done. I've run around. My legs have stopped working. I have flopped.
Is this the current place or?
Yeah, the current place.
Okay.
With that real kind of steep hill to the road. I'm about 3-4 feet from it. And I hear, and I'm like, oh. Okay.
The moment when you wish it was a snake.
I see one of the multi-sets of pre-packed mortars. So it's a cylindrical mortar about this long. Apparently had it gone off. And instead of doing a full lift charge, it just goes up about 3 feet, turtles, and lands right next to my leg. And for the first time in about 20 years, my reflexes worked. I scooped under and I drop kicked from the ground. I was standing. I don't know how I pulled this off. I pushed off and full kicked it. Boing! Goes sailing straight up about 15 feet before it, goes, and it's, chrysanthemum. Like that one. Look at Mandy sitting next to me. That would have sucked. But my favorite 4th of July stories. We used to live in a little house. Well, not so little house. It was a nice house in South Haven, which is a different sort of town, right on 6. And very narrow roads, like lane and a half that they tried to tell you is 2 lane, between the houses. We got new neighbors across the street. And we're lighting off fireworks. And by the end of the 4th of July, it would literally be a house roof high cloud of cordite all the way down the road. Look like, 1880s London. Just boom. But I'm like, and I hear,
Okay.
bam, and something slams into our big plate glass window, big front facing window, and I look and the neighbors had arced one, and it hit our house across the street, and I'm like, oh, sorry, like that's one. Just be careful. We got kids over here, and we're lighting off mortar tubes, and I've got a big PVC tube because I always acquire a big PVC tube. And I do the same thing. I draw this arrow, and I write them on it with the arrow pointing to the top of the tube. I do this every year. It's one of my things. And I'm lighting things, rockets, and big old, because it's George, So you get these skyrockets the size of my forearm. And I don't trust the stick to keep them straight, so I'm mortar shooting them out of this tube. I got festival balls, and they fit the tube, and some idiot stepped on the launcher, so boop, in the tube they go. Hang little string, boom, boom.
Calvin's happy.
Second one I hear, almost, and second, whatever they were shooting, right by me. And I look over and I realize they were aiming. I went, hey! Put my foot on the 3-foot tube sticking out. I've got about 4 feet of fuse off of this industrial mortar shell that George got from wherever. Put my foot on it, barrel sight it right at them. I will fire if fired upon. Oh. They're like, you wouldn't. I let it go. Holy, they go running. I wait till it's about this much from the end. Pull the tube back up. Launch it back up. It's chrysanthemum again at about house level because, it didn't have enough time to launch because it wasn't all the way down the tube. Sitting there. Are we gonna have the mistake again? No, man, we're good. Thought so. So yeah, you get a little.
Mm-hmm.
It brings out the American in me. You know? It's just I smell cheap Chinese explosives, and I can feel the bald eagle land upon my shoulder, and
There's a reason the rocket's red glare is part of the lyrics.
Yeah.
Had an old Sierra 20, whatever the 3/4 ton 4x4 is, that leaked a lot of gas. I'm pulling up to my friend's house, and they light a mortar. There's an issue, and the mortar tips. Pointed right at me as I'm driving. Later that night, me and said friend whose house it is, we're sitting there. We're doing dueling mortars. So we are, lighting them at the same time and all that funness. For some reason, we ended up grabbing 2 mortars that malfunctioned at the same time. Both of these mortars got about 18 inches out of the tube.
Low brakes.
And went off.
Oh, God.
So it looked like an action movie as 2 morbidly obese young men are starting to run, and we hear the thump, and we're like, that wasn't a good, so we're diving. And
guess we're gonna have to jump.
Couple of 4th of Julys, I woke up the next morning with 2nd-degree burns on my back because of George.
Well, George is got a buddy named Lofi, who's tangentially related to George.
Cousin.
Couple 4th of Julys ago, we would do this thing where you light the little skyrocket guy that does the paratrooper,
Yeah.
Goes up and the little paratrooper comes down. Well, then you take pot shots and see who can shoot the paratrooper with the Roman candles.
I'm so glad you said Roman candles. Around here, 30-06.
I can't afford ammunition.
That's definitely.
That's Georgia.
That's my side of the family, all right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But idiot decided, because I was out putting out a fire. So we've been arcing them off another hill out by Broadway, not far from Broadway in Maryville, Cherville, wherever, one of those Airville, a sneeze from Garyville. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold on. There's a grass fire starting. Let me go stomp that. Somebody gave Lofi beer. Now, when you have someone with a name like Lofi, you do not give him beer.
You don't give him alcohol at all.
He
like
thought
giving
it would
gremlin
be
water.
funny to light off one of those skyrocket guys while I was out there. And I look up as I'm downrange and I go, you son of a. And I turn and he's got 3 of the three Roman candle tubes. Just. And it's up here, but he's looking at me because he thinks it's funny. So now I'm running, looks like freaking landing at Normandy with this moron. I dodge, I advance upon the enemy with extreme prejudice. Nick, and George, Unky Nick, don't do it. Lofi, you are this close to losing your oxygen permit. All right?
I gotta remember that one.
I love Loki to death, but sometimes I'm willing to strangle him to prove it.
You know what? I used that joke on Facebook and I got a 3-day ban.
They understood it.
Because I was talking to my buddy Tommy, who just strained out his life. He got his welding certificate. He's going to Alaska. I should never get another 3 a.m. Nick, we did something stupid. Please help call from Tommy. But I told him, I'm really proud of you, bud. I love you, brother, but I love you to death, but sometimes I'd like to strangle you to prove it. Bullying, threats, ding, 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 ding. And I'm like,
You should have sent something back saying, "Don't kink shame us."
oh God, that's funny.
Okay.
I got to write that one down.
I don't have any cute fireworks stories, but I do have a cute running from the cops story.
Oh, do tell.
I don't know if do any of you know what messy fun is?
What is?
Messy fun.
Messy fun?
Messy fun.
I know that I've had some before, but
I'm hearing messy fuzz.
It's when you get naked and you do different messy stuff.
Okay.
And it
messy
doesn't
fun.
necessarily have to do with sex. When we say we go mudding, we don't mean in a car.
I understand, ish.
So my friend and I,
My brain went to Jello wrestling, but okay.
decided
sploosh.
we found a place in one of the rivers. We wanted to go down, and the water wasn't too deep, and it was nice silty mud. Let's go down there one night. So we go down there and we strip off. Now, across the river is this little community, erroneously called Shangri-La. Yeah. You have to be a white supremacist to live there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is not where I was going with that, where I thought that was going.
That's why I said it was erroneously named.
Okay, I thought it was a nudist colony.
No.
That's where my brain went as well.
But what we did not realize was they had expanded enough that there were 2 houses right on the cliff above the river. Because that's the only way we can figure out that cops come down in the middle of nowhere. So we're down in the river, and he's totally under the mud. I mean, facing everything under the mud. I don't go that far, but... And all of a sudden we see headlights up on the road above us, and I'm like, it's the cops. And they stop at my truck and kind of look around it, and we're like, okay, no white skin to show because we've got mud all over us. We just kept quiet. And
going all predator.
They couldn't find us. Hopefully they must not have run the license plates because nobody came back later on us. And then they drove further west down the road. Well, we hightailed it, got in the truck. I drove off to the east. No lights on. Fortunately, it's my parents' old stomping ground, and I know the back roads really well because every time a road comes up, I'm turning down it until...
Yeah.
Okay, no lights in the rearview mirror. Let's stop out here. No farmhouses around. We better get dressed and go home. Because we figure that place is probably not a good place to go back to that night anyway.
No.
But yeah, that was an interesting adrenaline-filled night.
Nudity in public has never been my jam, but I do have my favorite cop story of all time. To go east-west in northwest Indiana, there are 2 things. You either get on I-94 or 20 or whatever, or you go 6. And most of the time where I needed to go, because I was going from South Haven on Route 6 all the way to Westville for college, I had to go down 6. Now, there were back roads, if you knew them, to bypass. They had some kind of closure. Joe, this is not directed to you. I don't know what brain trusts needed to close that chunk of 6 for 5 months over the winter. There was no major bridge. There was no major anything. They shut it down. Winter, spring, it was closed forever. I don't know.
Just out of curiosity, what year-ish?
Oh, okay. God, he's asking me here. Probably 2005 to 7, probably somewhere in that range.
Okay,
It was
I lived out that way.
There was a huge, but anyway, it was closed down forever. So you'd have to drop down to 700.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was in line with a bunch of people who learned to drive in Northwest Indiana, which meant Chicago, an I-94, and we're all trying to get somewhere. And it's that whole line, we are going at appropriate speed for what needs to be done, not for what the signs say. So something like 75 and an 80. I'm sorry, 75 and an 80. 75 and a 30 something.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going with traffic. I got cars behind me, cars in front of me. But as I'm driving, I have that gift of I smell bacon on the breeze. If I were a cop, I'd be right, and I'm coming up over the hill. And it was early spring because everything was flooded. This is important. There is a transformer station with loose, the really loose, crappy pea gravel stuff. We come over there, and there's the county Mountie. Now, I have a thing with Porter County Mounties. We have had our differences. They did some shady stuff, I remember. And this dude's out there, and he hops in his, nothing, we're all, he hops in his cruiser, kicks lights, guns it. And I'm like, and the guy around me just takes off. He's in some kind of muscle car, screams and passes us all, so now I'm in the back. And as we go by, I see this happen. Cop kicks it, goes skidding. It looks like Foghat should be playing, or Thunderstruck has started up, Like, he hit the music, hit the sirens, hit Thunderstruck into skids sideways all the way across the road. I've got my window down because I see him. He sees me. And I look back. And I slow down because cop with lights. I'm busted. And he slides right across. And he hops. I see the whole car hop the edge of the road and splash down into the flooded farm crop. Just old cornfield. And I mean, he's climbing out of his window because his door won't open. God, heaven help me, the imp of perversity got a hold of me. I had my window down. I went, go! Yeah, Roscoe P. Coltrane, I'm gonna get them dukes! As I'm tearing off down the road because I couldn't help it. Just seeing, I mean, he's got his hand on his hat coming out his driver's side window.
Roscoe P. Coltrane, get him, Flash.
Oh God, I will never forget because those sometimes usually it's a crisis where time slows down and gets crystal. It's either crisis or the beauty that is turbo lag. As someone who used to not drive safely, turbo lag is a religious experience, and I don't think it is acknowledged properly for the philosophical and spiritual transcendence that it
For
represents.
those of us who are able to experience the Speed Force.
You think, you
Us,
want to be
Barry Allen, Wally West, Max Mercury.
1984, my favorite car, Dan Hollifield, my favorite car I ever owned, that died because Mandy wouldn't let me stop to fix it because she was having a fit. 20 years later, 20 plus years later, I still remember. It was okay, guys. 1984 Pontiac Sunbird convertible. White, gray interior, blood red instrument panel. Factory stock turbocharger. This little four-banger ate V6s for breakfast and chewed on V8s for lunch. It weighed nothing, and all of its weight was engine and the convertible top. It would have been faster without the convertible top, but I am a man of class. I will tell you, friends, you're driving. You use the stop protocol, which is slow to observe police. Hit the hill where you can look and see large portions of the county. Nothing. Just straight county roads that go woo like this.
Mm-hmm.
And you take a breath and you hit the magic go vroom button, and it goes down and the engine whee, and then it hits. Time for however long it is in real world freezes. Raindrops crystallize. If you're looking, you see a snowflake and you can watch it just stop and spin as the whole engine, as the universe takes in a great breath.
As the stars start to glow really bright.
No, when it's snowing, you think I'm kidding. You watch them because you've hit the perfect speed where it spins, and then the G-force
snowflakes and lightning bugs.
Yes, lightning bugs exactly.
75 Chevy Impala.
Oh,
ooh,
1980 Caprice Classic.
Oh,
those are my first two vehicles.
Oh no! See, my first car was a 1986 Chevy Cavalier station wagon that we rebuilt the bottom of all the doors with pop rivets and old license plates, and used heat engine paint because it was the only paint I had. To spray paint so it was two-tone and it was marbled on the bottom. And technically, I could have driven that car through like 3,000 degrees, and the bottom of the doors would have been just fine.
Everything inside would be a little cooked, but the doors would be fine.
Exactly, the doors would have just kept going. My fastest ticket and my last ticket. I was coming down 6. I was trying to get home. It was about 1 o'clock. I was 2 hours past what my dad perceived curfew. You're living in my house. I don't care if you're going to college. I want you back by 11. Whatever. Flying down the road in, of all things, a Toyota Camry station wagon. And I'm just trying to get home. I'm driving like a drunk dude, I think, comes right up on my bumper. 6 inches on my bumper, has his brights on. So, being a dumb kid, I speed up. So he speeds up. So I speed up. So he speeds up. We're winding through 6. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming up on the county line turn. I'm going to get off the gas, hit the e-brake, pull a J-turn, and I'll lose this MF. I'm in that mentality. Hand starts to go. I'm about 10 car lengths from the county line, and the son of a kicks on his lights. It was a county mounting. Old boy pulls me over 3 car lengths from the county line. Walks up to me, knocks on the window, and he's looking and he's smiling. He looks back. He smiles and goes, license and registration. And I'm like, I thought you were going to read me. I'm freaking out, because I detect alcohol. I'm going to administer a breathalyzer. You can refuse it. And I'm like, ha, ha. Those who don't know me, I've literally never had a drop of alcohol in my life, nor will I, for family reasons, To the point it's become literally a religious oath. I do not impair myself recreationally, nor. But so
so much so it's actually a running gag too.
Literally. And he goes and he pulls out the breathalyzer, pops it on, shoves it in my mouth. And I blow on the breathalyzer, and he's shaking because he's looking back at the car. And his hand is shaking. So much I end up biting the little plastic bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls it back, and the reading is straight zeros. I believe this to be a faulty reading. I can legally administer this 3 times.
All right, we got all night.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, you only had till 11.
Well, I busted. I'm 2 hours past anyway, and pulled over and scared to death. He goes, "Do you know how fast?" And he's talking. "Do you know how fast I clocked you?" "No, 127 miles an hour."
In a Toyota station wagon.
Well,
going downhill, you might have.
I was downhill because if you follow 6, those.
Oh yeah.
And somebody had done some work on that wagon. Like governors that should have been there weren't. It was problematic. But I'm sitting there. I'm sorry, I really thought I was in fear of my life. I thought some maniac was trying to run me off the road. I didn't know it was a cop. But he goes and he unwraps the thing, and I watch him pull out the piece, do a big show of changing it, but not change it. So the tube's still there. The little tube piece?
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to switch it out because that's where the collector is.
Yeah.
So he goes to re-administer it. And I blow all zeros again. And he pulls back. I could do it a 3rd time, and being me, I go, officer, can you actually switch that little plastic piece? Because I bit it the 2nd time. This time, for safety or whatever, because I bit it the 1st time and I cut my lip on it the 2nd. So I know that piece didn't get switched. And I said it loud enough that whoever was in the car could hear me. So suddenly I get a ticket for like 10 over and 8 points on my license to deal with. Because he turns bright, he goes red, looks at the thing, goes pale white, says, "I'm going to go easy on you because it's been a rough night and you look scared and sorry." Look, I am. He goes, "Found out that they were trying to shoot one of those cops shows about that time. Not like actual cops, but like bootleg cops online."
Mm-hmm.
I think. I'm not sure. And I can't verify this, and this is all conjecture from something many, 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 many years ago. But that was the last time I got a speeding ticket, and hopefully last time I ever will, because I don't speed anymore. Because I got the, that.
And I don't speed any less.
Ha! No, I just get in the go slow lane in my pickup truck, and it's like, my truck goes 50. It's a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. I'm in the go slow lane in an old truck. You have the vroom vroom lane, and sometimes I'm rich enough to afford the ticket lane. Because that's what those 3 lanes are. Y'all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am not rich enough to afford the ticket, but I ride in that lane anyway.
Well, okay, if you go to Chicago, that's a whole different, because Chicago is all about, there's a magic lane. I used to know which one it was. Where if you're going through Chicago,
it changes to the time of day and the season.
Oh no! I'm talking about the one that you never have to change lanes. There is one.
Depending on the time of day, it depends on which lane that is.
Yep.
Mhm.
We got those in Atlanta too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's the go out anyway. Yeah, that's a whole different, like the zen of traffics, or why sometimes I pull off and eat a sandwich. It used to drive my wife nuts. We'd be driving, going on a trip, SCA trip, in a hurry, looking at the traffic, driving. Looking at the traffic, driving. Nope. What? Bing, bing, bing. Sandwich time. They've got a Subway. Hey, what do you mean? We only have a few hours. Don't care. It's sandwich time. Why are you pulling over? Nope. Get out. Get my sandwich. Sit in my car. Eat my sandwich. I guess I was hungry. Yeah. Well, we're always hungry. But yeah. Why do you do that? And about 8 times out of 10, there's a wreck down the road when I have felt, and you see the car and you realize it was somebody in our pattern because you start watching the way it's the traffic weaving. Oh no.
No, Lindsay
Nope.
has learned that
Woo!
when I no longer flow along with the traffic, it's because my idiot detector has gone off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go, oh yeah, well if we were driving straight through I'd stay in this lane, but let me go over to this away and get in the farmer in a pickup truck with a baseball cap and out of county plates lane where
Yep.
each factor
Oh
reduces
yeah.
the speed by 10 miles an hour
Mhm.
until I'm going tractor speed and things are just going by and they're more obvious things where we'll be going like through when I was still going through Atlanta voluntarily, we'd be going on 285 or even 85 before we get to 285. And I'm focused on what I call the body language of the traffic, observing what cars are doing what and how stupid they seem to me. And basically, when I was trying to prove something to her, I would say, you see that guy in the blue Corvette over in the left lane, just almost into the peach lane where he'd have to buy a permit to drive in that one. He's about to do something completely stupid. I'm flowing along 70 miles an hour in a 55 with the rest of the traffic, not enjoying the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, blue Corvette cuts across 6 lanes of traffic
Yep.
without a turn signal right into the off ramp.
Mhm.
I'm going, told you.
Yo, that sounds like Chicago. I can
Yeah,
almost
I-94 eastbound to I-65
it
southbound on a
happens.
daily
It happens
basis.
everywhere. The thing
Any big
is,
city, yeah.
When I was
I
younger, I
see it
wanted to be a cop.
about to happen before it's going to happen just by how much of an asshole that driver is when we're not anywhere near his exit.
It's like the Walmart wait for it. What? I'll be either walking through a Walmart parking lot or driving through a Walmart parking lot, and I will slam my brakes on. Used to drive Manda's nuts. Why? If I were an idiot, and I'll say, or my bullshit detector's going off. What? Hey, bam! And then out comes somebody who's decided to cut across 4 lanes, of driving the wrong way through a block. How do you know? Because it's the dumbest thing that could happen. And as you approach that nexus of stupidity, You know,
My common sense is tingling.
yes,
Mhm.
you know,
I have that as the image here somewhere.
A few years ago, we went down to Louisville, Kentucky,
yes.
which is only about supposed to be a 4-hour drive
Uh huh.
from Danville. I'm like, we need to go down there, Evansville and across. No, we're going down over to Indian down. Get off of 74, go take the bypass to Greenwood, which is a little kind of suburb on the south side of Chicago. Not Chicago, Indy, and then it's a straight shot to Louisville. 4 hours just in Indianapolis on the bypass.
About average.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, this is kind of where I wanted to go, Evansville. Well, it'll clear up once we turn off into Greenwood. No,
Nope.
no. We did pull off, have lunch. Well, it'll calm down after. It'll calm down after that. Nope. Took us almost 9 hours to make a 4-hour drive.
It happens.
One of my mom's friends lived down in
Me, sure, parking's line. Yep.
So, Walmart parking lot.
Yes.
I'm heading that way, and someone's not paying attention, driving through the parking lanes, almost fucking T-bones me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of my mom's
said
friends used to
Teleport
live
County.
down in Florida, and her and another friend had season passes to Disneyland or Disney World, whichever one's in Florida. I think it's
Disney
World.
World.
World. Okay.
World, Florida, Land, California.
Gotcha. They had season passes because when they get off work every day, the traffic was so atrocious that they would just pull off, go into the first coffee shop that was right there in Disney World, and sit there and have coffee until traffic lightened back up.
Well, you do know there are no driving laws in Florida.
There are driving suggestions.
Suggestions, yes.
Although they will, I thought somebody got in trouble for throwing an alligator from one car into another because of somebody's driving. So there are at least things that are frowned upon. I need to ask my buddy Luke.
I don't know. In Atlanta, you'd be grateful for an alligator. Basically, what you expect is lead and high velocities too. Seriously.
Yeah.
So,
I
All
only
right,
had that
all
once on
right.
the job site this year.
We
I-
got about 7 minutes left.
Well, you were on vacation, right?
Nope. I
Oh,
gotta go to
darn.
work in the morning.
Oh, okay.
yeah, today
Yeah.
was my last day of vacation, so I actually have to work tomorrow as well.
1976, 1977. I was in college. Was in with a fun bunch of folks, and some weekends they would have parties. And I would stay as late as I possibly can, and then have to get home in time to get up and get on the tractor and farm the next
Mhm.
day. Drive through downtown Athens, get on the bypass, go straight on out, get on one of the smaller interstates, not the big one, but the small one, 2 lanes, get to the county line into the county where I live. I would have to make my only turn at milepost 6. Once you reach the county line, that road is straight as an arrow for 20 miles. It simply has hills.
Mm-hmm.
2 o'clock in the morning on a
Yeah.
Sunday, knowing full well that I should have been home 2 hours earlier. 1970 Impala, 300 horsepower, 350.
I like where this is going.
With the air cleaner cover flipped so that the Rochester 4-barrel would suck air in all sides. I cross the county line and know it is absolutely straight. And the only thing that could possibly get in my way were 18-wheelers, which have lots of lights on them to let me know they are close.
Should we be playing High Flight about now?
This was more fun.
I just have one
If
question.
there were wings, you'd be getting lift.
I got lift without wings. Believe me, this thing, it would do 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds. I crossed the county line and I put my foot to the
0 to
floor.
60 and a dirty thought.
And the 4-barrel kicks in, and all of a sudden there's this Godzilla roar coming out from under the hood of my car, and I don't back off of the gas
You need a
pedal.
moist towelette front, Donna.
I don't back
just
off the
wanna
gas
know-
pedal till I get to milepost 6, about 100 yards from where I've got to turn, and it's basically. Duke, not only Dukes of Hazzard, but this was going way back to streets of San Francisco. Woo!
Steve McQueen is riding shotgun. You just can't see it. I understand, sir.
Cannonball Run kind of air.
Co-pilot, believe me. And this thing, it might have had an upper limit. But I never had a straight enough road for long enough to find out what it was. But basically, 120 was left behind a long time ago. I don't believe I ever pegged it out at the 160, the speedometer read, but somewhere around in the 140 range. And I knew I didn't have to make a turn. And I'm praying there's not a turtle in the road.
Oh,
or deer, for that matter. At that speed,
a deer would have been shrapnel. A deer, you would have gone through it and just had to hit your windshield wipers to clean the blood off.
It would have been a vague mist, basically. And
I just have one question. Did we all have Impalas at one time in our lives?
If we were lucky.
I did not. I wanted an Impala.
Well, I had 2, so...
There you go.
Technically, I had 2. I had a Caprice and I had an Impala. Same vehicle, different name slapped on the side.
Caprice was a little bit longer because it was supposed to have been a station wagon, but instead they put an apartment in the back seat.
I had a Ford Mercury Lincoln station wagon, and I'm not saying like it was bought at the dealership. I acquired this car that looked like a white Mercury station wagon, except parts of the engine was by Ford, the transmission was Lincoln again. The half the brake systems were Mercury. Nothing, like not a single nut was the same anywhere. I think Johnny Cash is like descendant.
One piece at a time.
You know? almost all my cars have been like that. I acquired a rusted out. I loved it. It was a Cadillac DeVille. That thing was 80 feet of black cherry with purple interior.
Ooh.
Pure pimpdom. I mean, I drove around in this long body rig in Michigan City. Really expected Shaft to pull up next to me at one point or another. I love this thing because it had a huge engine. It had the big North Star that did two things. It made it go. It did not have a top end. Now it wouldn't get there fast because it was what wasn't rust was steel. But my God, it would just. There was that those cars where you start the power band and the torque starts, and then it doesn't like ever level off. It just
keeps going.
It's like a perpetual motion.
There were times when I left a party at 2:00 in the morning. I drove approximately 14 miles. The last 6 miles was as fast as I could go. And I swear I got home at just a couple of minutes before midnight before I left.
Oh, yeah. I have found time holes. I'll tell you that one. I have found time holes where you're not even going that fast. You're driving and you look at your speedometer, it's like 55. Okay. What? Wait. 55. Okay. I'm not flooring it, I'm going you got whip around somebody. It's like I don't know if the speedometer broke on some of my cars, but I'd go by cop cars and they would say that. Every once in a while, it's like you find a slipstream.
I've done that on a tractor. 20 miles an hour. I'm going home on the tractor. It's been a long day. I plowed 40 acres of field.
Shite.
We're ready. I put in a full almost 16 hours out there. Damn thing won't go more than 20.
Yeah.
And I'm coming up on where I know I need to turn. Next thing I know, I'm 8 miles further down the road. And I'm coming up to the highway where I should be making my turn. And I go, okay, I know where I am because I've ridden my bicycle all over this county. I need to get on the road, take a right, go 20 yards, take a left, and I'm on a dirt road. Comes out real close to my house.
Right.
But the thing that always got me was I knew my turn was coming up. What the hell happened to it? It wasn't there anymore. It's like I'm here, suddenly I'm there.
The
on
speed force.
I'm on a tractor.
Yeah, no, it happens.
It's a portal.
I have pulled out of. It used to be PNC, back when it was proper college, Purdue North Central, on 41 on 421. Sorry, pulled out, started heading toward Westville, and then turned into my driveway. And it's like
your brain engages that autopilot mode because you've taken the route so many times.
That's one way of looking at it, but then I was looking for the turn I was supposed to make.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was miles past it.
But that
was
the autopilot from when you were on your bicycle.
Yes. Now, autopilot is a whole different thing because
roads,
there are places I
left
can't
Crown Point and turn off my car in my dad's driveway, and I'm like, What happened to the past half hour?
There's a reason why I don't walk under ladders that are propped up in the corner of a building. Because whenever
Oh yeah,
there's a
I know all
triangle,
about what I've
weird
done.
shit happens.
Yes.
Oh.
There was between Wonton and La Crosse, you take US 421. I went to high school down in La Crosse. 421, very similar to the road you're talking about, Dan. Mostly just a straight shot. There's one little S curve right before you get to Wanata, or right before you get to La Crosse.
A little town called San Pierre.
And I went through it so often that I'd be tooling along down 421. Next thing I know, I'm coming up to the high school. I don't remember taking that curve because it wasn't just like a slight little curve.
Oh no!
Where you could drive straight through.
Oh yeah,
you could drive straight through it if you hit the exact right angle, but you were really crossing traffic at that point. But
autopilot's a wonderful thing. I do that on the way home a lot. There's a route I try and take because it gets me away from the school zone, which then turns into like 15 miles of people that haven't figured the school zone has ended yet and sped back up to regular highway traffic. So I go a different route and I get on this other back road. And it's a nice little back road. It's a lot of fun on a motorcycle. I generally don't go more than 50 miles an hour on it. If it's been raining, I lock the cruise control at 45, nice and safe, and I'll go. Where did the last 3 waypoints go? Because I just zoned out. It's like automatic pilot, exactly. But the thing on the tractor
suddenly
was,
come to you and go, well, there's Johnson's house. Where'd the other 3 go?
I basically I'll start on the road, make the first S curve, lock the cruise control. Next thing I know, I'm coming up to the stop where I've got to look out for school buses, and that's it. The intervening distance did not register.
I'm okay with
going
that.
back
I
to
can't stand when I try to go somewhere and I used to work on that route, or I go to a store on that route and I end up taking the turn out of reflex. Or
well, we're gonna have to wrap it up. Let's let Joe finish his story.
Going back to the speedometer thing, I actually had a vehicle where once the temperature hit 45 degrees outside, the speedometer would quit working. And it freaked me out the first time it did it because I had my cruise control set. And I'm heading down State Road 49, and all of a sudden the car starts going, woo, woo. The fuck is going on here? I look down and my speedometer's doing this.
It's so much better with your background blur.
Right? And I had to learn
Speed Force.
At what RPMs I was at. Because it wouldn't do it right away. Like, I'd start off and it'd be doing just fine. And about 15, 20 minutes down the road, it'd just start going out. So I had to learn what RPMs I was at for what gear, for what speed I was actually doing. Which made driving through town a ton of fun. But the last thing, what Nick was just talking about with taking a turn out of habit, I was heading to pool leagues one night out in Illinois, out over in Linwood, Illinois. And so I'm taking 94. I get off on Torrance Avenue. I'm sitting at that stoplight in the left turn lane. The left turn light turns green, and I do a complete U-turn down the other ramp to head back towards Indiana because that's where we turned around when we plowed 8094. And I call my team captain. I said, I'm going to be a little late. They're like, well, you running the traffic? No, I'm a dumbass. What? I got off on Torrance like I always do. And right back now, I'm currently heading back into Indiana.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Well, time to run the bedtime
Yep.
story.
Hey,
Yep.
Dan, real quick. Are you and I anchoring both SOC and LMS on Saturday, or are we just doing LMS?
Joe's going to set it up for both, and I don't know if John's going to be there or if he's going to be busy. So I am intending to run both shows.
All right.
If you don't feel obligated, I would welcome your presence as well as everybody else here, and as well as everybody else that usually shows up for Stupid O'Clock. It's going to be New Year's Eve,
Natty.
Yeah.
and for Eastern
Nighty.
time, it's going to be New Year's before Stupid O'Clock ends. So the more the merrier. But if you
Our
got
time.
plans,
Yeah.
we'll just wing it. We'll just wing it. If nothing else,
And that's different how?
if nothing
Wait, you
else,
didn't get a
I
copy
will.
of
I
the
will just
script?
kind of.
I've been
Uh,
working really hard off this thing.
I'll actually have notes to
I
go
will
off
pull
of in
up a
case Dan has to go to the
manuscript and start
bathroom.
reading stuff for hours, but or I will just say 10 minutes in, go, well, ain't nobody here. Thank you very much, folks. You're on your own. Good night. Depends on what happens.
Yeah.
Love y'all, and thank you for everything you've done over the last 2 or 3 years with this this stuff. Joe Dog may be contemplating slowing down on Stupid O'Clock or even bringing it to a screeching halt. I do not know. I'm going to continue doing Last Man Standing at the regular times. If Stupid O'Clock, for some reason, fails to occur, might have to time shift forward a little bit and not have 2 o'clock in the morning be my bedtime anymore or showtime anymore. But
He says like
we'll
the
be
show won't just get
flexible. We'll be
Mhm.
flexible on this. So
Okay.
and as
You
I
know, I've
said,
always heard you're a flexible man, Dan.
oh, you've seen me dance like one of those inflatable balloon men outside the used car lot. Yeah. I know you haven't been talking to any of my ex-wives because you don't believe
Been a
in
while
Ouija
since that
boards.
sound has come out of me.
Tomorrow night,
I fell out of bed the
green
other night,
room.
and mid-fall, I managed to pivot, so it ended up like I was praying instead of completely on my ass on the side of the bed.
To which you're like, thank you, Lord.
Scared the hell out of Misty.
God
Scared me
bless
even
the little
more.
pygmies. We shall see y'all as many as possible tomorrow, and then as many as possible Saturday night. Same bat time, same.
Same bad shit time,
channel.
same bad shit channel.
I was trying to avoid saying batshit crew, but
Well, I'm here, so I pulled the quality way down as usual, you know.
no, you're made of
Curve
quality,
breaker.
Nick.
I'll see y'all later then.
And I have written a script for an advert for you. I've just got to polish it. I mean, right now.
I appreciate your 2-minute plus ones because there are times where my stomach's like, oh. And having a couple reserve ads that run in the 2 to nearly 3 minute, that gives you a chance to either deal with a parenting problem or a stomach problem. So don't ever feel bad about that.
Sometimes you just got to splice a couple of them together so you got 5 minutes. On that note, I love each and every one of you, not only here in the room, but everybody that's in the audience. And we shall see you as soon as we possibly can. Good night, everybody. And
Good night.
here comes the bedtime story.
Transmission overload. System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.